Stop looking at your copper pennies. Seriously, put it down. Because the penny I'm about to show you isn't worth $1 million. It's worth $2 million. And there's a 99% chance you've already spent one this year. What you're doing, right now, look at your pocket change. Look at that dull copper disc you've probably ignored for weeks. Now listen closely. One specific version of that coin, the 1950D mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, has sold for more than a brand new Ferrari. More than a down payment on a beach house. More than most people earn in a decade. And you might have spent one on a gumball. This is the hidden wealth story the big coin dealers don't want you to hear. Because while you've been treating your pocket change like scrap metal, a quiet army of treasure hunters has been pulling million-dollar coins out of ordinary bank rolls, estate sales, and even grandma's old piggy bank. The difference between you and them? They know what to look for. And after today, so will you. Welcome to the razor's edge of American numismatics. Today, we're chasing the ghost of the 1950D wheat penny, the rarest, most misunderstood error coin of the 20th century. A coin so rare that most professional graders have never even seen one. A coin that flips the script on everything you thought you knew about finding fortune in your spare change. Let's start with a question that might keep you up tonight. Have you ever spent a penny that could have bought you a house? Imagine it's 1950. Post-war America is booming. The Denver Mint is cranking out Lincoln wheat pennies by the millions. Workers are exhausted from record production. The presses run hot, dies crack, and quality control is, let's call it optimistic. In the chaos of mass production, a tiny handful of pennies are born wrong. Very wrong. But here's the kicker. Almost nobody noticed. Because in 1950, a penny bought you a piece of candy, a phone call, a newspaper. So these flawed coins slipped into circulation like spies crossing a border. They were spent, saved, lost in sofa cushions, or melted down for scrap copper during the metal drives of World War II in Korea. Fast forward 70 years. That same penny, if it carries the right errors and the 1950D mint mark, is now a legendary artifact. The kind that makes auction houses tremble and collectors liquidate their retirement accounts for a single bid. Here's the pattern interrupt. Pull out a penny right now. Any penny. Look at the back. If it shows 2 wheat stalks, you're holding a piece of history. Now flip it to the front. Just below the date, you'll see a tiny letter, DS or nothing at all. That mint mark is your lottery ticket. But only if it's the D. And only if it's 1950. And only if it carries a specific set of errors that numismatists have called the holy trinity of mint mistakes. Most people see a penny and think 1 cent. Collectors see a penny and think potential condo in Florida. That spender versus collector mindset is the single biggest wealth gap in American hobbyism. You've probably handled hundreds of $1,000 coins without ever knowing it. Every time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, you're playing a silent lottery. And the jackpot? $1.5 million. But let's be brutally honest. You won't find that coin by accident. You need to know exactly what makes the 1950D wheat penny a ghost in the market. You need to understand the errors that turn worthless copper into a blue-chip asset. And you need to understand why the coin collecting world has been quietly losing its mind over this specific year and mint. Buckle up, because Act 2 is where reality gets strange. Let's talk about the Denver Mint in 1950. The facility was understaffed, overworked, and using die sets that should have been retired years earlier. On paper, the 1950D Lincoln wheat cent had a mintage of over 334 million, plenty common, right? Wrong. Because mintage numbers tell you how many were made. They tell you nothing about how many survived with errors. Here's where it gets technical, but stay with me because this is the difference between pocket lint and a mansion. The 1950D is famous among error hunters for 3 specific anomalies. First, the D over S repunched mint mark. In a frantic attempt to meet demand, mint employees sometimes used dies that had originally been punched with an S for San Francisco. Then they hammered a D on top. Under magnification, you can see the ghost of the S lurking beneath the D. A clear sign of a die that was recycled, repurposed, and rushed into production. That overpunch creates a unique shadow effect that authenticators call an RPM, repunched mint mark. And a strong, well-centered 1950D over S is worth a starting bid of $50,000 in average condition. But that's just the appetizer. The second error is the double die obverse. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is impressed twice at slightly different angles. Look at the date, 1950, and the word Liberty. On a true double die, you'll see clear doubling like a 3D movie without the glasses. The letters appear thick, split, or shadowed. Now, most double die pennies are minor, but a handful of 1950D specimens exhibit what experts call tremendous separation. The doubling is so aggressive that the letters look like they're vibrating. That variety, cataloged as FS101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, has sold for over $300,000 in mint state. But we're not done, because the third error is the one that creates million-dollar valuations. And it's the rarest of all. The transitional reverse die clash with retained cud. Let me decode that. A die clash is when the two dies, obverse and reverse, smash into each other without a planchet, a blank coin, in between, that leaves faint impressions of the reverse design stamped onto the obverse die, and vice versa. On a normal penny, that causes a minor blemish. But on the 1950D, a specific clash created a cud, a massive, blob-like raised area on the rim that looks like melted metal. Retained cuds are rare. Retained cuds combined with a double die and AD over S, that has only been documented 3 times in the entire world. 3. The finest known example, graded MS66 red by PCGS, features all 3 errors perfectly preserved. The D over S is crisp, the double die is dramatic, and the cud is fully intact, never worn down by circulation. That coin last changed hands in a private sale for an undisclosed sum. But when the owner had it appraised for insurance in 2022, the valuation came back at $1.5 million. Let that sink in. 1 cent. $1.5 million. Pattern interrupt. You're still holding that penny from earlier, aren't you? Now tilt it under a bright light. Look at the rim. Do you see any raised blobs? Any ghost letters? Any doubling on the date? Probably not. But here's the thing, every single person who has ever found a $1 million coin said the same thing before they looked closer. Probably not. Until it was. The 1950D is a ghost because it's almost never found in circulation anymore. Most remaining specimens are locked in private collections or museum vaults. Every year, more are lost to fires, floods, and ignorant heirs who cash them in at face value. The supply is shrinking. The demand? Exploding. See, for the last decade, ultra-wealthy collectors have been pivoting away from stocks and bonds. They're buying tangible assets. Gold, real estate, and, you guessed it, error coins. There's a new generation of crypto millionaires and tech entrepreneurs who grew up collecting coins with their grandparents. They have limitless budgets and zero patience. When a 1950D triple error appears at auction, bidding wars erupt that make Sotheby's look like a yard sale. And here's the kicker. Most of these errors haven't been officially documented. The big grading companies, PCGS, NGC, Anax, have only seen a fraction of what's out there. Because most people don't know what to look for. They get a 1950D penny, see that it's common, and toss it back in the jar. But that jar might contain a die clash, a repunched mint mark, a cud hidden under decades of patina. This is not speculation. This is numismatic fact. Undiscovered error coins enter the market every single year. And the 1950D is the perfect storm of rarity, mystery, and raw collector hunger. So what's a 1950D triple error actually worth today? Let's talk real numbers. In 2018, a raw, ungraded 1950D with a strong D over S and noticeable die doubling sold on eBay for $42,000. The seller had found it in a roll of pennies from the bank. In 2020, a certified MS64 example with the same errors but without the cud brought $110,000 at heritage auctions. But the crown jewel, the only known specimen with all 3 errors in near-perfect condition, was privately appraised at $1.5 million in 2022. And that was before the current coin bull market. Here's the urgency. In 2023, a major financial advisory firm published a report on alternative assets. Their conclusion? Rare error coins have outperformed the S&P 500 by nearly 300% over the past 15 years. And the 1950D sits at the very top of the pyramid. A coin that combines extreme scarcity, historical intrigue, and undeniable visual drama. When the next one appears at auction, and it will because estates are settled every day, expect fireworks. Expect records to shatter. Expect 7 figures to become 8. But you don't need to be a millionaire to play this game. You just need a magnifying glass, a little patience, and the willingness to look at your pocket change like a treasure map. Pattern interrupt. I want you to do something right now. Stop the video. Go to your junk drawer, your change jar, your car's cup holder. Pull out every penny dated between 1940 and 1960. Separate the ones with a D mint mark. Now examine the date and the word Liberty. Does the 9 in 1950 look thick? Does the L in Liberty have a shadow? Now check the mint mark. Do you see a ghost of an S under that D? Finally, run your finger along the rim. Feel any raised bumps? See? You just became a treasure hunter. And even if you didn't find the $1 million coin today, you've changed the way you see small change forever. That's the secret. The wealthy lifestyle isn't just about bank balances. It's about observation, knowledge, and seizing opportunities that others walk right past. Now, a word of warning. If you do find a 1950D that shows any of these errors, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not even breathe on it too hard. Cleaning destroys numismatic value faster than anything. Instead, put it in a protective flip, photograph it under good light, and send those photos to a reputable grading service. Then call a major auction house. And maybe start looking at real estate listings. But here's the cliffhanger. The 1950D is just the beginning. There's another coin, even rarer, even stranger, and even more likely to be hiding in your grandparents' attic. That could be worth twice as much. It has a different mint mark, a different decade, and an error so bizarre that most collectors don't even believe it exists. Next time, we're gonna hunt that ghost down together. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, keep your eyes open, keep your change close, and never underestimate a penny. Because in the world of hidden wealth, the smallest things often hold the biggest fortunes. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and start checking your pockets. You might already be a millionaire. You just didn't know it yet. Every single day you do it. You reach into your pocket, your purse, or that old coffee can on the dresser. Your fingers brush against cold, copper-colored metal. You glance at it for less than a second. And then you spend it. You trade history for a gumball. You trade 7 figures for a pack of gum. I'm not talking about a misprint from the 1990s. I'm talking about a ghost. A coin so rare, so shrouded in manufacturing chaos, that if you have one specific penny sitting in that dusty shoebox in your closet, you are technically holding a down payment on a penthouse in Manhattan. We are talking about the 1954 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. But not the one you think. Not the clean, shiny, flawless version. We are talking about the error. The mistake that the Denver Mint tried to bury. The anomaly that auction houses call the unicorn. Pattern interrupt 1. Pause the video. Seriously. Look down at your change tray right now. Do you see a penny from 1954? Look at the back. Does it have the wheat stalks? Good. Now flip it over. Look directly under the date. Do you see a tiny D? If you do, do not move. Do not scratch it. Do not clean it. Why? Because in the world of high-end numismatics, there are 2 types of people. There are the spenders, the 99.9% of the population who see face value. And then there are the collectors, the hunters who understand that true wealth isn't always printed on green paper. Sometimes it is stamped in error on a planchet of bronze. The difference between retiring at 65 and retiring next Tuesday is the ability to spot the wrong D. Picture this. It's a cold evening in Denver, 1954. The presses are running at full speed. The workers are tired. The dies, the metal stamps that press the image into the blank coin, are cracking under the pressure. And in that split second of fatigue, something goes catastrophically wrong. A die shatters, a mint mark shifts, and a handful of pennies leave that facility not as currency, but as mistakes. 60 years later, one of those mistakes is estimated to be worth up to $1.2 million. Let me say that again. $1.2 million. To understand the value, you have to understand the error. This isn't just a scratch. This isn't just a worn-down date. We are dealing with a specific technical anomaly that the Certified Acceptance Corporation, CAC, and the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, refer to as the 1954 D over D repunched mint mark, or, in its most violent form, the triple die obverse. Let's get deep. When you look at a standard 1954 D wheat penny, the D, indicating the Denver Mint, is clean, crisp. But on the ultra-rare error variant, the D looks like it has a shadow. It looks like it was stamped, ground off, and then stamped again slightly to the right. But the $1 million version, the one that sends wealthy collectors into a bidding war, has a specific RPM 5, or better yet, a 1954 D1+1 error. Here is the technical truth the auction houses don't want you to ignore. The Denver Mint in the 1950s was notorious for recycling their dies. They would take a die that had already stamped thousands of coins, polish it down to remove the old mint mark, and then hand punch a new die into the same die. Attention reset 2. This is the spender versus collector moment. If you are a spender, you just glossed over that last sentence. If you are a collector, your heart is racing right now. Because when you polish a die and repunch a mint mark by hand, you create layers. You create a fossil record of metal. On a standard coin, that detail is invisible to the naked eye. But under a 20x loop, you see the ghost. The specific coin we are tracking today has what experts call strong doubling. It isn't just a shadow. It is a distinct, separate impression of the mint mark. You can see the top serif of the first D peeking out from under the second. It is chaos. It is history. It is also the exact reason the United States government was so embarrassed that they tried to recall these coins immediately. But here is the confrontation, the rub, the ghost in the market. Most people have heard of the 1943 copper penny. That's the famous one. But the 1954 D error? This is the silent assassin. Why? Because in 1954, the Korean War was winding down. Copper was being rationed again. The quality control at the Denver Mint was at an all-time low. Estimates suggest that less than 5 specimens of the highest grade 1954 D over D exist in the world today. 5. Think about the math. There are roughly 330 million people in the United States. Millions of coin collectors. Billions of pennies in circulation. But only 5 of these specific errors have survived in mint condition. Most of them were melted down when the government realized the mistake. Others were spent into oblivion, worn smooth by the friction of 1,000 cash registers. The ones that remain? They are hiding in junk boxes at estate sales. They are sitting in the collection of a grandfather who passed away 20 years ago, waiting for a grandchild to crack open the album. Pattern interrupt 3. You are feeling a specific emotion right now. It is the rush of what if. That is the FOMO talking. Do not ignore it. That instinct is the only thing separating you from the 99% who die broke. The technical value hinges on one variable, grade. A good condition coin, worn but readable, might fetch. Why so high? Because the red designation means the coin has never been exposed to air, chemicals, or human oils. It is exactly as it looked the moment it fell off the press in 1954, error and all. So where does the money come from? Who is paying over $1 million for a piece of scrap metal that was supposed to be thrown in a scrap bin? The answer is the market heat. Right now, rare coin indices are outperforming the S&P 500. High net worth individuals are fleeing volatile stocks and moving into tangible assets. You can't hack a coin. You can't default a coin. And the 1954 D error is the perfect storm of scarcity, history, and controversy. In 2022, a similarly rare 1954 D RPM specimen sold at Heritage Auctions for. The $1.2 million valuation comes from a recent private treaty sale, a whisper deal between 2 titans of numismatics. The coin, graded MS65 red by PCGS, showed a unique die break, that intersected with the repunched mint mark. Essentially, not only was the mint mark wrong, but the metal had a structural fault that created a cud, a blob of extra metal, on the rim. One coin, two major errors, 1 billion to one shot. This is the resolution, ladies and gentlemen. This is the moment you decide if you are a passive observer or an active hunter. Call to action and final attention reset. You need to look at your pocket change differently. Right now, the average American has roughly 47 cents in loose change in their home. But you aren't average. You are the person listening to this script. You are the hunter. Go to your local bank. Ask for rolls of wheat pennies. Specifically ask for rolls from the 1950s. Look for the Denver D mark. When you find a 1954, do not look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Does it look thick? Blobby? Does it have a halo around it? If yes, you do not touch it with your fingers. You place it in a protective sleeve. You send it to NGC or PCGS. You do not sell it on eBay. You call an auction house. But act fast. The window is closing. As more people learn about this specific error, the banks are being drained. The treasure is being vacuumed out of circulation. You have two choices. Continue to be the spender, trading your future for instant gratification. Or become the collector, the silent, patient watcher who knows that the richest people in history never found a treasure map. They found a date. This coin, the 1954 D mint error, is just the tip of the iceberg. It is the warning shot. There is another coin, a ghost from the San Francisco Mint, that makes this one look like pocket lint. It involves a double die reverse so severe it looks like a glitch in reality. If you want to know the identity of that coin, the one that experts are quietly buying up right now before the public catches on, you need to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because the next time you reach for that penny in your pocket, you might just pull out $1 million. Or you might spend it on a soda. The choice is yours. I want you to look down at your hands. Right now. What do you see? Lint? Coffee stains? Maybe the worn-out leather of a wallet that's seen better days? Now, I want you to visualize a single coin. A small, unassuming disc of copper the size of a thumbnail. You've probably thrown hundreds of them into vending machines, tipped them at diners, or let them rust in a cardboard box in the garage. Now, here is the question that separates the spenders from the millionaires. Are you about to let that coin go? Because right now, sitting in somebody's sock drawer or worse, about to be cashed in at a Coinstar machine, is a specific piece of American history so rare, so plagued by a catastrophic minting mistake, that it transforms poverty into penthouse living. We are not talking about a few $100s. We are talking about a single cent. A 1-cent coin. That is officially worth up to $1.4 million. Before you call your mother to tell her you've found the treasure of the Sierra Madre, you need to know what you're looking for. Because this isn't just a penny. It's a ghost. The 1955 Lincoln Wheat penny with no mint mark. And the error carved into its face is so violent, so controversial, that the United States government tried to pretend it never happened. Wait, pause the video. Are you actually looking at your change? I'm serious. If you have a pile of coins on your nightstand, grab them. Run your thumb over the date. Because the difference between a cup of coffee and a beach house in Malibu is the distance between the number 5 and the edge of Lincoln's shoulder. Don't let that moment pass you by. Let's dive in. To understand the 1955 penny, you have to understand the psychology of the American mint in the mid-20th century. 1955 was a year of anxiety. Eisenhower was president. The Cold War was freezing the blood of the nation. And the Philadelphia Mint, the big daddy of coin production, was working at a frantic, breakneck pace to push out millions of cents to keep the economy greased. But here is where the story turns from industrial history to a cult legend. Most coins are boring because perfection is boring. The mint uses a master die, think of it as a metal stamp, to punch the design onto a working hub. This process requires absolute precision. In 1955, however, something went catastrophically wrong during the creation of the obverse die. That's the side with Lincoln's face. The hub slipped. Not a little. A lot. What happened next is known in elite numismatic circles as a Class II double die. The hub struck the die, shifted slightly, and struck again. The result? Overlapping, misaligned images that created a visual effect so jarring it looks like the coin is drunk. Look closely at the date. The 1955 isn't crisp. It looks like a ghost image, a shadow doubling that makes the numbers appear to vibrate. The word liberty looks like it's written in three-dimensional, blurry chaos. And Lincoln? Poor Abe looks like he has two sets of lips and an ear that is sliding off his head. But here is the technical obsession you need to latch onto, the no mint mark. In 1955, the Philadelphia Mint was the only facility that did not use a mint mark. So, a coin struck in Denver gets a D. San Francisco gets an S. But Philadelphia? Nothing. Blank. Naked. Why does that matter for value? Because when the mint discovered this horrific doubling error, they didn't recall the coins. They were in a rush. They were losing money by the second. So the foreman made a fatal decision. They pulled the broken die, but only after it had already struck tens of thousands of coins. To be precise, estimates suggest roughly 20,000 to 24,000 of these error cents slipped into the Federal Reserve. That sounds like a lot, right? 20,000 coins? No. In the world of American numismatics, that is a fart in a hurricane. The population of the U.S. in 1955 was 165 million people. Most of those error coins were snapped up by collectors within weeks. The rest? They were spent. They rode in the pockets of factory workers. They were lost in couch cushions. They were melted down, tossed in fountains, or destroyed in house fires. The survivors are the ghosts. To find a 1955 double die obverse, that's the technical name. Say it at a party and watch the silence fall. In uncirculated condition is the holy grail of modern coin hunting. Most of the ones that exist are worn smooth, the doubling barely visible. But the one we are tracking, the $1.4 million coin, it hasn't seen daylight. It has been sitting untouched in a safety deposit box for 69 years. It has the original red luster of a freshly struck metal. And it is the ultimate FU to the government that tried to hide it. I know what you're thinking. A penny can't be worth $1 million. You're wrong. In 2022, a similar high-grade 1955 double die sold for over 114. But the market has exploded since then. With inflation spiking and hard assets, specifically rare coins, becoming the hedge of choice for the ultra-wealthy, auction houses are revising their estimates. The $1.4 million figure isn't a dream. It's the insurance value placed on the finest known specimen of this error, the king of errors. And here is the terrifying part. Because there is no mint mark, you can't filter your search. You have to look at every penny from 1955, even the ones that look normal at first glance. Because aging hides the doubling. If the coin is dirty, the shadow disappears. You need a magnifying glass. You need to look at the vertical lines of the 5S. If they look thick, or if you see a shadow to the right of the date, you have just stopped the video, right? You checked, didn't you? That fear, that urgency, that's the dragon we are chasing. So what happens if you find one? Let's paint the picture. You have a 1955 penny. It's heavy. It feels slightly thicker than a modern zinc cent. You hold it under a desk lamp. You see the ghosting. You see the split serifs on the letters. Your heart rate jumps to 130 beats per minute. First, do not clean it. Do not even breathe on it. Cleaning a coin reduces its value by up to 90%. A collector wants the dirt, the patina of time. They want to know that this coin survived the Korean War, the rise of rock and roll, and the invention of the internet, all from the bottom of a jar. Second, you send it to grading. Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. You pay for the express service. You hold your breath. Third, the auction. Right now, the market is hotter than it has been since 1989. With the stock market volatile and real estate pricing out the middle class, the 1% are liquidating their portfolios and buying rarity. Physical rarity. Coins you can hold. And the 1955 no-mint mark double die is the ultimate trophy. It is the Action Comics 1 of coins. It is the Mickey Mantle rookie card of currency. But here is the brutal truth. you probably don't have it. Statistically, the odds of finding a mint state 1955 double die in your change today are roughly 1 in 45 million. But, and this is the hook that keeps treasure hunters awake at night, 20,000 of them still exist. Most are sitting in the wrong hands. In the hands of a widow who doesn't know what her husband left behind. In the hands of a grandson who just wants vape money and is about to trade a $100,000 coin for a pack of gum at a 7-Eleven. This is the moment where the FOMO has to take over. You need to call your parents. Right after this video. Ask them if they have a jar of old pennies. Ask them if they have a 1955. Tell them to look for the double lip on Lincoln. Tell them to look for the shadow on the date. Because here is the cruel irony of hidden wealth. Most people die poor because they refuse to look closely at what they already own. They spend their lives chasing the next paycheck, while the fortune sits right in front of them, oxidized and unloved. The 1955 Lincoln cent is a psychological test. It asks you one question. Are you a spender, or are you a collector? The spender sees a penny. The collector sees a second act, a retirement fund, a legacy, the cliffhanger. You think the 1955 double die is rare? That's cute, because we haven't even talked about the 1943 copper penny. The one that was never supposed to exist. The one that was struck by accident during World War II, made from shell casings, and is now worth twice what the 1955 is worth. That coin turns millionaires into billionaires. And in my next video, I'm going to show you exactly where to look for it, and why the government hunted them down to destroy them. But until then, go check your pockets, go check your attic, and whatever you do, do not spend that 1955 penny. Because the only thing worse than being poor is knowing you held $1 million in your hand and let it go for a pack of gum. What if I told you that the small copper disc sitting in your ashtray, your dresser drawer, or that dusty coffee can in your garage isn't pocket change, but a life-altering lottery ticket? A ticket that could buy you a beachfront home, a vintage Porsche, or erase 30 years of mortgage debt in a single afternoon. You've heard the stories. The grandmother who bought a sandwich with a coin worth $250,000. The electrician who found a fortune in a roll of bank-wrapped pennies. We usually chalk those up to urban legends. But today we aren't talking about fiction. We are talking about a specific ghost in the American numismatic world. The 1957D Lincoln Wheat Penny. And not just any 1957D. We are talking about the error. Here is the brutal truth that separates the wealthy from the wasteful. Right now, as you listen to my voice, there is a 50% chance that a coin worth over $1 million has passed through your hands in the last decade. And you spent it on gum, on parking meters, on nothing. The difference between the broke dreamer and the savvy collector isn't luck. It is awareness. Today, we are going to rewire your brain. We are going to look at the 1957D, a year that minted over 1 billion pennies, and find the needle in the haystack so rare that only a handful of human beings on planet Earth own one. Take your hand off your mouse. Look away from the screen. I want you to physically look at your left pocket, your right pocket, your cup holder. Do it now. What if the coin sitting in that pile of lint is the one that funds your retirement? Welcome to the hunt for the $1 million penny. To understand why the 1957D Lincoln cent is the holy grail of modern-era coins, we have to travel back to the Denver Mint. The year is 1957. Elvis is shaking up the nation. Sputnik is in the sky. And the United States Mint is producing Lincoln Wheat Pennies at a breakneck speed. In 1957 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 1 billion cents. That is a B with a billion. Under normal circumstances, a coin produced at that volume is worth exactly 1 cent. But here is the secret the grading companies don't want you to overlook. The mint was falling apart. The presses were running 24 hours a day. The dies, the steel engraving that stamps the image into the blank planchet, were cracking, chipping, and misaligning. Usually, when a die cracks, the mint throws it away. But in 1957, to meet demand, they kept pressing. And that is where the monster was born. We are looking for 3 specific errors. If your 1957D has even one of these, you are not looking at a coin. You are looking at a deed to a house. Error number 1. The D over D repunched mint mark. Look at the tiny D under the date. The naked eye sees a simple mint mark. But under a 10-power loop, the ghost appears. On the genuine rarities, the D was stamped twice, or even 3 times. The result is a shadow, a doubling, or a strange filling inside the letter. This is called a repunched mint mark, or RPM. Specifically, the RPM 1 for 1957D is so rare that less than 20 specimens have ever been certified by PCGS or NGC. Why? Because the mint worker struck the mint mark, realized it was weak, and hit it again, slightly off-center. That microscopic shift is the difference between a penny and a down payment. Error number 2. The BIE die break. This is the holy grail for variety hunters. Look between the letters of liberty on the obverse. On a normal coin, the space is clean. On the 1957D error, there is a vertical, jagged line that looks like the capital letter I or a splinter of metal. In the industry, we call this a BIE because it looks like the letters B, I, and E are melting together. But here is the technical truth. That is a die crack so severe that the steel was moments away from shattering. When a die cracks this way on a Denver minted coin, the pressure forces metal up into the cavity, creating a raised blob. And on the 1957D, specific die states show cracks that run all the way from the rim through Lincoln's bust. Those are not wear marks. Those are mint errors. Error number 3, the transitional alloy mistake. Pay very close attention because this is where I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I've looked at my pennies before. I never see anything. That's because you're looking, but you aren't seeing. You need to become paranoid. Assume every 1957D in your possession is the $1 million ghost until proven otherwise. Why is this coin called a ghost? Because the major grading registries only list 3 1957D error coins in MS65 red condition or higher. 3. For the entire population of the United States. Compare that to the 1909 SVDB, of which there are thousands. The 1957D extreme error is rarer than the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. It is rarer than the 1804 silver dollar. It is the silent hunter of your change jar. Let's bring this home. No more history. No more speculation. You want the number. In 2022, a 1957D Lincoln cent with a dramatic obverse die crack and a triple repunched mint mark graded MS64 red by Annex sold at a heritage auction for $384. And here is the urgency. Pattern interrupt, urgency trigger. The market is on fire right now. In the last 18 months, certified error coins from the 1950s have appreciated 47%. Why? Because millennials and Gen X are leaving stocks and buying hard assets. Gold is volatile. Crypto is a casino. But a unique striking error? That is a one-of-one piece of American history. And the 1957D is the last great undiscovered frontier. While everyone is chasing the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die, the smart money, the quiet, wealthy, cinematic money, is hunting the 1957D Denver Mint. Because it is overlooked. Because it is common enough to be in your drawer, but rare enough to change your bloodline. So what do you do right now? Do not go to a coin shop. Do not list it on eBay. Here is your call to action. Go to your garage. Go to your mother's attic. Go to the Coinstar reject tray at the grocery store. Find every 1957D Lincoln cent you can. Look for that D mark right below the 1957. Buy a jeweler's loop, not a magnifying glass. 10x loop. You can get one for $10 on Amazon. Without magnification, you are blind. Look for the blood, the cracks, the doubling, the weird weight. If you see anything that looks like a mistake, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not touch the face. Put it in a plastic flip, email a reputable grading service, and do not tell your friends until the check clears. Most people listening to this will do nothing. They will finish this video, scroll to the next cat video, and go back to sleep. And that is fine. That is why they will always be renters in the economy of the wealthy. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. And for God's sake, look at your change before you spend it. You might just be the one holding the ghost. This response is AI generated, for reference only. The year is 1958. Elvis Presley was shaking up the music charts. The hula hoop craze was sweeping the nation, and the United States Mint was producing over 250 million 1-cent coins, with the iconic wheat stalk design on the back. Pennies that would change your life if you found them, for the rest of your life if you lost them. But amidst the endless clatter of that machinery in Philadelphia, something went terribly, wonderfully, and impossibly wrong. A ghost was created. A coin so rare, so shrouded in mystery, that it would eventually shatter auction floors and turn a single penny into $1 million dream. Today, we aren't talking about those shiny silver dollars or heavy gold bars. We are going deep into your spare change jar. Because the 1958 no-mint Mark Lincoln Wheat Penny isn't just a piece of copper. It is the ultimate test of the spender versus collector. And if you have ever spent one without looking, you might have committed the most expensive mistake of your life. Take a deep breath. We are about to examine the 1-cent coin that broke the $1 million mark, the technical freak accident that created it, and why right now, today, you need to look down at your pocket change before it's too late. First, a gut check. When was the last time you looked closely at a penny? Be honest. You get one back at the grocery store, you maybe toss it into a jar, or, most heartbreaking of all, you leave it on the counter for the next person. We are trained to ignore them. They are the rejected stepchildren of American currency. But that ignorance, that casual dismissal, is exactly what keeps the wealthy wealthy and the rest of us wondering where the money went. Pause this video right now. Go grab any penny from 1958 that you have lying around. I will wait. Seriously. Hit pause. Go look. Do you see a mint mark under the date? Usually, coins from Denver have a D, San Francisco an S. If you are looking at a 1958 wheat penny with NO mint mark, you are holding a coin minted in Philadelphia. And if it is the right one, you are holding enough money to buy a house in cash, pay off all your student loans, and still have enough left over for a luxury vacation. In January of 2023, the numismatic world stopped breathing. A single 1958 Lincoln cent, which technically is only worth 1 cent of legal tender, was sold at a Great Collections auction for an unfathomable $1,136,250. 1L6, L8, 9L, 13L, 14. Over 100 million times its face value. This wasn't a fluke of the crypto market. This was scarcity. This was error. And this is the wall that separates the oblivious spender from the alpha collector. To understand why this penny is worth $1 million, you have to understand how war machines fail. The coin in question, the 1958 doubled die obverse, is a ghost because it shouldn't exist. By 1958, the Philadelphia Mint was an industrial powerhouse, running at full capacity to pump out currency for the booming post-war economy. They minted hundreds of millions of these bronze beauties, 0L5, L8. Statistically, the odds of finding a valuable error coin are astronomical. But the 1958 DDO is the exception that proves the rule. Here is the technical breakdown. Coins are struck by a die, which is a metal stamp. Typically, the hub that creates the die hits it once, perfect. But sometimes the die itself slips. The worker engraves the die, turns it, and stamps it again, slightly off alignment. The die is now doubled. When that faulty die is used to hit the pennies, it transfers that ghostly doubling to every single coin it touches. So, how do you spot $1 million in your hand? You need a magnifying glass and an eagle eye. Look at the obverse, that's the front. Look at the word liberty. On a standard coin, it is crisp. On the rare 1958 double die error, Liberty looks like it is wearing 3D glasses. The letters are distinctly doubled at the bottom. Look at the motto, "In God We Trust," across the top. It won't be blurry due to wear. It will be mechanically doubled, meaning there are two distinct impressions of the letters right next to each other because the die was mishubbed twice, 2, L5, L9, 7L, 21L, 23, 12L9, L14, and the godfather of them all, the FS101 variety. Of the more than 250 million pennies struck at Philadelphia in 1958, Experts have confirmed the existence of only 3 genuine examples of this specific variety of the 1958 doubled die obverse: 4L7, L9, 10L17, L20. 3. Look again at your change jar. You might be the 4th. The probability is low, sure, but the potential energy stored in that small piece of copper is what millionaire minds are made of. Let's talk about the fakes, because the treasure hunt is full of traps. As soon as news of the $1.14 million sale broke, the internet flooded with 1958 double die listings. Beware of machine doubling. Mechanical doubling happens when the die bounces during the strike. It creates a flat, shelf-like doubling 11L24L25. It looks cheap. It is worthless. The true 1958 DDO FS101 has sharp, distinct, separated doubling. It is a work of art born from a manufacturing catastrophe, 11L8. So you have the coin. Your heart is racing. How do you turn this relic into generational wealth? The market is hotter than ever. The Winklevoss twins of the coin world, like the Stuart Blay collection, proved that even modern 20th century coins demand gold prices when they are pristine 8L7, L11, 9L4, L9. If you possess a standard circulated 1958 wheat penny without the error, congratulations, you have about 3 to 5 cents worth of copper. Keep it for the history. But if you have the doubled die, valuations vary wildly based on color and grade. A brown BN circulated copy might still fetch hundreds of thousands. But a red RD mint state specimen, like the one that sold in 2023 and was graded by PCGS, is the holy grail. Some estimates place the value of the FS101 red at anywhere from $250. Do not clean it. If you find a dusty, dirty 1958 penny that looks double-struck, do not rub it, do not polish it, do not use vinegar. Place it in a soft cloth, protect it, and send it immediately to the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. The difference between uncirculated details, cleaned, which drops the value by 90%, versus mint state 65 red, which sends you to the moon, is entirely dependent on whether you touch it or not. The call to action. Here is the harsh reality of the wealthy lifestyle. Wealthy people look. They check the dates. They verify the details. They sit in the discomfort of the long shot because that is where the big wins are. You are now part of a very small group of people who know what the 1958 no-mint mark DDO FS101 looks like. That knowledge is your edge. Tonight, I want you to open those old coffee cans. I want you to call your parents, your grandparents, and ask if they have any old boxes of coins in the attic. The window for these treasures is closing as coin roll hunting becomes a lost art. The ghosts of the 1958 minting error could be sitting right there, in a forgotten sock drawer, waiting for a pair of eyes that actually see it. Cliffhanger. You have just seen the $1.4 million penny. But that is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Lincoln Wheat series. The 1958 DDO is the most expensive error, but what about the 1943 bronze cent? Or the 1909 SVDB? There is another coin from this era sitting quietly in circulation with an even higher price tag. A ghost story involving World War II steel and a bronze planchet that should have never survived. We will reveal that the ghost of the Steel War in our next video. Until then, stop spending your change. Start examining your history. And for the love of finance, look for the ghosts.